It's a minefield. You see YouTubers in their vast workshops filled with every tool imaginable, all recommending that you do something different. How do you know what to, and more importantly, what not to put in your workshop when you're just starting out in woodworking? These are some of the most recommended money drains in the whole of woodworking. And to keep it simple, we're going to have two options: build it yourself or buy it. Now let's start with one of the biggest YouTuber recommendations. The Dust Collection Cyclone. On face value, it seems like a bit of a niche topic, but honestly, everybody can get use out of one of these. Because every workshop needs dust collection. It's your lungs after all. And every dust collector or shop vac has a bag that fills up with dust pretty rapidly. So these cyclones sit between your hose and whatever machine you're using to power the vacuum. And due to their shape, they take out the dust and the chippings, dropping them inside the container before they can even get to the bag to fill it up. Honestly, they're brilliant. They save you money. I haven't changed a bag in my shop vac for 2 years. But here's the build or buy moment. Most people suggest that the Cyclone is attached on top of one of these plastic drums. This one costs £30, but I say no. Build one. And the reason for that is not only is it marginally cheaper, but more importantly, it gives you better suction. As you can see here, under pressure, these end up compressing, and in some cases, like mine did, crushing completely. That leaves you with two choices. You can either put a solid frame inside them, which is going to put a lot of strain onto your shop vac, or as the manufacturers suggest, you put a venting valve in the top, which stops it crushing, releasing a little bit of the pressure, but that also loses you suction. You can make this any shape or size you want, fit it into the perfect place for you, and there's absolutely no risk of it ever deforming. All you have to do is ensure that it's airtight. And to do that, make a box. Think where it's going to go, hinge the most practical side for you, fit some silicone pipe around the outside of the opening to act as a seal, and then use these simple toggle clamps that you can adjust to make sure everything is tight as possible when it closes, and that's going to seal off the opening. And if you're wondering how you glue silicone pipe to the edge of the plywood, all you need is clear bathroom silicone, which, while you've got it out, I suggest you run along all of the seams on the inside wherever a board meets another board, and that'll make the entirety of the inside airtight when it's closed. Then, get yourself a plastic box that fits as snugly as possible on the inside. Mine isn't perfect. I still get some dust that falls around the outsides, but the hassle of getting rid of that is nothing like the hassle of having to change the bag in my shop vac all the time. And I know, before anybody says it, these aren't the solution for a commercial shop. These are a hobbyist solution. And right here is the biggest benefit I've noticed since doing this. Here you can see me taking an airflow reading at the absolute max suction with just the shop vac and the hose. And now here it is going through the Cyclone. As you can see, I've pretty much lost nothing. And that was never the case with the barrel. Now this is nice and small, so I've got mine tucked away down the side of my workbench where I happen to have a gap that fit it perfectly. And I've even got one tucked in a wasted space under my workbench just behind the table saw. When you start looking in your workshop, you'll see a huge amount of spaces that you can fit these in. And it'll save you the need for one large central dust collection bin. So for me, this is a build, but build it right. Here's a quick fire one. Mallets. Don't spend your money on mallets. Practice your skills and make your own. In fact, make a few. Have fun with the different styles, sizes, and additions you can add to them. Things like adding curves or a bit of rubber to the faces. A half decent one to buy is going to cost you around £20. To make one, probably a similar cost. But you're going to end up making it nicer, and you feel a little bit proud whenever you use it. Add that in with practicing a few skills to get there, and that's a triple win. Marking and measuring tools. I'll give you this answer early on. This is a must buy. Accuracy is the foundation of woodworking. A good square, ruler, marking gauge, they'll last for decades if you treat them right. Take these squares for instance. They're machined to plus or minus 0.025 millimeters accuracy over the 150 millimeter span. You can't replicate that by making it yourself. And any mistakes caused by inaccurate measuring and marking tools, well, they're going to end up costing more than the tools themselves. I recommend you have one square and one straight edge that you trust fully so you can use them to check all your other tools. So without question, precision marking and measuring tools are a must buy, don't build. Is it the same for a workbench? We all need one after all, but we don't all need the same one. And I guarantee the first one you use won't be the one that you use for your entire woodworking journey. I'm on my fourth now. Consider this. How long are your arms and how tall are you? Do you get backache? Is your eyesight perfect? These are just 4 of the factors to consider. Then add in what tools do you mostly use. Do you have a small workshop like mine that needs a workbench on wheels? Do you build a large piece of furniture that needs a really big space to assemble it on? Or are you happy just to have a small workbench to do lots of intricate work on? Do you want a way to hold your work down to the surface like these dog holes? Or are you happy with just a single vise on the edge of your bench? That's a lot already to consider, and I'm barely scratching the surface. Now this is my main bench, and it didn't actually start like this. I built it to be huge and stuck a DeWalt table saw right at one end of it, and then I changed saw, and the new one didn't fit in the same gap. So I chopped it in half and built a separate section to house my table saw. I mean, this is all in the space of less than 3 years. And this is why I say build and don't buy. Not only that, but it's also way cheaper. This is just built out of 2x4s and plywood sheets. If you were to buy the equivalent, you'd be in 4 figures pretty quickly. And you get to practice some skills. So for me, this is build and build again as you go. And while we're talking about building big stuff in the workshop, may as well throw in there tool cabinets and workshop drawers. I've got the same feelings about these as I do about the workbench, but with one additional point. And that point is, right at the start when you get into your workshop, you don't need to kit the whole place out. It can be really tempting when you first get in your workshop to kit the entirety out with cabinets, drawers, workbenches. I built this workshop 3 years ago, and I guarantee if I'd have done that, I'd have been ripping it out now to replace it with something that actually works for me. So what I suggest is build a few, house the tools you've got, and then leave yourself some space to grow. Have a mixture of fixed and mobile cabinets, which will give you ultimate flexibility. And not only flexibility of movement, but also flexibility within the cabinets themselves. These drawers are one of the first bits of storage that I built for my workshop. And they give me two things that store-bought storage never could. One, a far better price. All it took to build this was half a sheet of 3/4 inch ply and a full sheet of 1/2 inch ply. And not even expensive ply at that. At the time, total build cost was around £80. Work time, about a day. Second thing this gives me is much more efficient space use. Every single internal area is used. There's no giant drawer slides taking up space on the edges, and I've left no gaps between the drawers. And as an aside, the double drawers are interchangeable with 2 of the single drawers. So I've got flexibility in that too. So again, like the workbench, make your own shop furniture. Don't buy it. Now, while I'm down here talking about shop furniture, let's talk drawers for a second. This is a really quick one. For shop furniture like this, I would never buy expensive drawer runners. This has 10 drawers in total. These drawers all slide on their base in grooves that are in the side of the cabinet itself. And if you think that a medium price set of drawer runners is going to cost you around about £10 a pair, that's £100 saving just in one cabinet. So it's a no-brainer. Make your own drawer slides or incorporate them in the drawer. And I can't believe I have to add this next one, but here goes. Head back in time around 6 years. Pre-YouTube Mark was inhaling thousands of woodworking videos, just like many other people were when we were locked indoors. And one thing at the time that he was certain of was that he was not going to spend large amounts of money on some of the larger power tools. At the time, he had a better plan. You see, he was taking inspiration from channels where people had turned their circular saw into a makeshift table saw, or their jigsaw into a bandsaw replacement. I'm embarrassed to say now that he was absolutely certain that this was the best way. I mean, why wouldn't it be, right? Don't be pre-YouTube Mark. Power tools require specialist engineering, manufacturing, testing, and safety features. I mean, could you build one of these makeshift homemade machines? Probably. Should you? No. It's the quickest way to have the shortest woodworking journey possible. But it is okay to build a makeshift router table while you're saving for something more fancy. In essence, it's really just a board with a hole and a router attached underneath it. Add a fence and you open up a huge amount of jobs that you couldn't do before. But table saws these days are nowhere near as pricey as they once were. And thanks to the woodworkers that were inspired to take it up during COVID times but then didn't see it through, there are now a load of well-priced second-hand ones that could save you a chunk of change. Save your fingers and buy a table saw, which is a bit of a throwaway comment. So let's double down on table saw safety. Table saws are responsible for the highest amount of injuries out of any tool in workshops worldwide. And for that reason, you absolutely need push sticks and paddles. How you go about it though may just be one of the most controversial out of my opinions. Let's see. Build or buy? In my opinion, neither one is wrong, but I say build. Although there is one exception that I'll tell you at the end, so stick around. But as a caveat, please do your own research and make your own decisions based on that. But my reasons first. I made 4 push sticks, all different styles. And I made a paddle. They're scrappy, quick, and pretty easy to make. And most importantly, cheap. At the end of the day, they're designed to be sacrificed, especially the boot at the back that will get run over the table saw blade pretty regularly. So you just make them again, rinse and repeat. Let's do a quick cost comparison first though. Firstly, these sort of ones came free with the table saw, but they're terrible. These, £15, also terrible. These cost £20, £50 and £30 respectively. That's not cheap. These cost a few pound each and maybe an hour's work. Now we've all done that half cut, glance to see no push tick, followed by butt clench and risky push. Don't do that, make more than you need and put them in places that they can easily be grabbed, like up here. Now with the table saw off, let's quickly talk use. I find this is too localized in pressure. To be honest, I need more on top of the board and something a little bit wider at the back. These paddles, these leave your hand way too close to the blade. In fact, they're more suited for planers and router tables, to be honest. Even the expensive one, I wouldn't be using for this purpose. As I said, this is for my router table. And as an aside, I always think that wood would react better to coming into contact with the blade than this brittle plastic. Kind of less eye shards, really. But whatever you choose, it's important. So please do your own research, make your own choices. And if you choose like me to do build, find a style that gives you the control and the pressure in the right places that you need. It's something that's going to keep your hand well away from the spinning teeth. And now very quickly, that one exception. This is the gripper, or gripper. 50 quid, it's pretty pricey, but it is one of the few commercial push blocks that genuinely offers something a bit different. Now, as with the other styles, I don't use this for fully through cuts. I feel like my hand, and importantly my wrist, are too close to the teeth of the blade. But for non-through cuts like grooves and rebates, where this supports the board while you're traveling over the top of the blade but it doesn't go through the board, that is where this, in my opinion, really shines. And for that reason, this is the exception. So do you build or buy? Well, in my opinion, you build, but you buy one. And now for my personal favourite, workshop jigs. Big statement incoming. Jigs are not the sign of a beginner woodworker. In fact, in my opinion, they're the sign of an experienced woodworker. You should be making helpful jigs all the time, but with one important caveat. Don't make them fancy. Just make them. Use up some of your scraps. Jigs provide accurate, safe repeatability, like this small parts crosscut sled. I'll be honest, it can't do everything, but for supporting both sides of a small board for making a crosscut, it's perfect. And check out the price of a store-bought crosscut sled versus a small sheet of plywood. Store-bought ones start at £100 and go up from there. Build them, then store them away for the one time every year that they are exactly the jig you need. And nothing is too scrappy if it works. Like 2 blocks of scrap wood glued together to act as a drill guide. I could save you £8 on one of these. I repeat, jigs are not the sign of a beginner woodworker. Everybody needs them. And this leads me to a rabbit hole that I went down where I spent ages making a jig to produce something that I should have just bought. I know some people make their own dowels. Drill a hole in a 2x4, strap a chisel on top, chuck a piece of wood into your drill, send it through. You get a dowel of sorts come out the other side if you don't cause a friction fire first. I made one once and I told you all to do the same. It was a lot of time and effort and the finish was so-so. Not to mention the fact that that jig only produces one size of dowel. You want different sizes, you've got to make another jig or drill another hole. Now, as you've just heard, it can be fun to make jigs and I'm here for the fun. But honestly, with this one, my advice has to be never make another dowel. Commercial dowels are relatively cheap. They're consistent and they're available in pretty much every size and a great mix of species. And they're going to be manufactured far more accurately to the homemade versions. These are 100% buy for me. Now, I've got one more category left. This one I'm going to keep fairly brief because it's a rabbit hole all of its own. Commercial wall tool storage systems can get expensive quick. But if you've got a pile of plywood offcuts and a French cleat wool, you can build tool storage that's perfectly suited to your tools and more importantly, your workflow. Don't tell anyone, but you don't actually need the French cleat part. You can just screw them to the wall. But where's the fun in that? This way you can store chisels, planes, saws, more planes, a couple more planes. I have a problem. Drills, drivers, clamps, basically just have fun with it. The biggest advantage with making your own, not only is it fun, but it can evolve with your workshop. Buying off the shelf often ends up as a bit of a one-size-fits-all and doesn't end up actually suiting anybody. Whereas if you build it, oh, you can adapt it as you grow. So for me, this class is as a build. And as an aside, if you want to build this cabinet, there's plans on my website. There's a link down in the description. But it does lead me to an overall pretty simple rule. I build items for the workshop that save me money, fit my exact needs, or teach me something. And I buy anything where precision, safety, or mass production makes the commercial version the obvious choice. But that's just my list. Do you agree? Or to help everyone, tell me where I went wrong and what you'd do instead. If you like these kinds of videos about the workshop, I'll put one there. Thanks a lot for watching.